All right, it's been just about a week since Donkey Kong Bonanza dropped on the Switch 2, and we are going to get into all the goods. I've had a chance to spend many hours with DK and little Pauline, and today we're going to find out if it's as appealing as all the critics want us to believe it is. Let's get into it. All right, guys, that's right. Today we're talking about Donkey Kong Bonanza, the first 3D platformer for the Switch 2, one that has a lot of high expectations. Of course, the Switch 2 launched just a short time ago with Mario Kart World, which is a great online experience, but the system is lacking a really quality single player game, and so we finally have one. As a result, there's a lot of hype about this game, and today I want to dig through, get to the bottom of that hype. I've gotten to spend a lot of time with this game, many hours. I just went down and saw how deep it went, and let me tell you, I was surprised at what I learned. When Donkey Kong Bonanza came out, really, I purchased it because it was like one of the only new games to come out in a short time after the Switch launch. And I didn't have high hopes. I'm not a huge Donkey Kong fan. I can tell you, I just had a ton of fun with Donkey Kong Bonanza. It started out really feeling like one of those games that you're going to put 45 minutes to an hour into and then be like, it's all right. You know, maybe I'll pick it up again. Maybe I won't. But the more I played, the more fun I had. And when I said you need to stick around and see how far and how deep this game goes, I really meant it. Every time I thought, okay, well, I've got to be nearing the end of this game, it just kept going. So for the length of a Nintendo 3D platform, this one really has a lot of depth. Not only do you have these alternate forms that you unlock called bonanzas that allow you to transform into different animals with different special abilities. And of course, you get a mixture of tons of hidden items. So for all you gotta catch them all, your heart content. You're gonna find all those bananas. You're gonna find all those hidden fossils. You're gonna spend hours and hours and hours doing this, because we all know the big mechanic in this game is the destructible world itself. As Donkey Kong, you can dig, you can smash, you can just level everything around you and uncover all kinds of hidden chests, gold, just so many different fun things to find. There's even buried in there somewhere a little hat tip to the amiibo. So they're really trying to get you to open up your amiibo to discover just what that new Donkey Kong Bonanza amiibo does in the game. I have to admit, I fell for it. I popped it open, and it's surprising. It's pretty interesting what you get. I'm not going to spoil it here, but it actually is something unique. It's not just a gimmick like some of the other games when they put the amiibos in there. So it is really a ton of depth. On the surface, you think it's going to be like your typical Mario game with maybe 8 to 10 worlds, and you're going to kind of go through subworlds and all this stuff. And it's much more in depth than that. It is a fairly long game, in my opinion, especially for what it is. It does have that kind of two-player gimmick that Odyssey has, where the second player can really kind of take over Pauline like you could the hat and do some things. And I'll tell you right now, like, it's very gimmicky. It's just kind of an excuse. It's also a cheat mode, quite frankly, to have somebody else be able to spam essentially what are attacks as you play. But like most Nintendo platformers, you're going to find this isn't a super difficult game. It's just challenging enough to make it interesting to keep you playing, but it really does up the ante quite a bit when you get to the end. And again, I'm not going to spoil anything there, because there are a lot of twists and turns where this game goes. Like, just when you think you're getting somewhere, it just keeps going and going, and it's an exciting ride the whole way through. It's not just wasted. You get through it and you're like, oh man, this was worth it, kind of an experience. I'm looking forward to going back and to dig through and see what else I can find. There's these giant fossils. You learn about those pretty early in the game, and they come back at the end in an interesting way. So there's a lot of things that I would like to experience that maybe I kind of blew over on my first playthrough to just get through the game and experience beating the game out of the gate. One of the worries is there replay value in this? Is this the kind of platformer that you're going to go through once and then put back on the shelf saying that was a fun experience? And that's a very real concern, I think, with any platformer. And in the last couple of years, we've seen some quality stuff, right? We've got Astrobot, which got Game of the Year. It's a great platformer. It wasn't enough to hold my attention. I don't think that you're finding any innovative gameplay in Astrobot. It's very much compiling the things we've seen in Mario Brothers, in Little Big Planet, and kind of putting it together and then throwing in that nostalgia bait with all those classic PlayStation IPs hidden all throughout the levels, which was fun. But it wasn't overly exciting to me. Or Donkey Kong Bananza was a huge surprise for me at how much I enjoyed it, at how much I enjoyed the way they implemented the Bananza mechanic, how they introduced a skill tree where you could really kind of build out your character in a way you wanted. And for me, it felt like Donkey Kong Bananza blended the world between The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom and Mario Brothers. On one hand, you have a fairly linear platformer where you're just going level to level to fight the bosses. And yes, you can go back a little, but they have these great mechanics of these hidden doorways and these hidden challenges, very much like Breath of the Wild, where you have an opportunity to collect more bananas by completing various puzzles or fighting various opponents in timed combat, or coin levels like in some of the hidden stuff in the original Mario, where you're just getting lots of coin and gold. And so there's a mixture of challenges in there that really give you that Zelda feel. And then when you combine that with the skill building tree, the need to increase your health, right? You get those hearts, like the container heart type thing. And you build up your health, and you have potions to heal, and you have potions to use your power, your Bonanza power. There are a lot of things in here that meld that world of the action RPG and the 3D platformer. And for me, it worked extremely well. Everything from the gear is a big point. These clothes are not just cosmetic. I've got a series of tips that I want to share with you at the end of the video that can help you play this game, and clothes are a big part of those tips. And so just like any good action adventure, what you wear matters, and it certainly comes through in this game, giving you that variety of gameplay that you can play this as you want to play it. None of them are required. All of them allow you to experiment in this new sandbox to play the game you want to play. So let's talk about overall. If I were to give this a score, and everybody loves giving things a score, right? You've got 10 out of 10 by some people. You've got a 91 Metacritic score. You've got all these different things. But so in honor of Donkey Kong, today we're going to score Donkey Kong on a scale of 1 to 5 bananas, because it only makes sense. And this is a solid 5. This is probably the best Donkey Kong game that I've experienced. I've played some of the others, but really not cared for them. But this one is awesome. I think it's the best 3D platformer Nintendo has released since the launch of the Switch. I think it completely blows Super Mario Odyssey out of the water. So I think you're looking at one of, if not the best 3D platformer released in the last 8-9 years, and that includes Astrobot. I think this is way better. They've really done a great job with the storytelling, with the gameplay. The music is great. I mean, music is at the heart of this game, and they've just put everything into one sweet bundle. So let's get into the tips. How can you maximize your experience in Donkey Kong Bananza to get to the end? And so my first tip, I mentioned it earlier, is the skill tree. You really got to pay attention to the skill tree. You have lots of options here. And the way this works is every 5 bananas, you're going to get a skill point. When you get that skill point, you can apply it to a variety of skills, just like most games with skill trees. You have so many options as you fill out this tree for those points. And all of it depends on how you want to play. But there are some things you can do that give you an advantage over all the others. So the first I want to focus on is the Bananza ability itself. So if you guys don't want to know what the Bananza ability is, that's when you get to change your form into one of various animal forms that you unlock throughout the game. And each of those forms is timed. So it's really important to maximize the amount of time you have, because you have to charge up the amount of gold, trigger the Bananza, then you get a timed event to use whatever special abilities and everybody else that those animals give you. And so the first tip would be to invest in the skill that extends the time of your Bananza. That is going to pay dividends in boss fights. It's going to pay dividends in some of the more challenging puzzles you come across. And so for me, that's number one. Number two is the strength. This should be an easy one. The more you ramp up Donkey Kong's strength, the quicker he can smash through harder levels of material. And it's one you could probably slow play, but I front loaded quite a bit to get up there. You know, you'll see as you progress through the different levels, the material gets harder and harder. And so having Donkey Kong always overpowered ensures that that change in material doesn't affect you all that much. The next is life. So this is the tip I would give right away, is you really don't need to invest all that much in expanding your life bar. You can go early on, expand it while it's cheap, get the one that costs 1 skill point, 2 skill points, 3 skill points, but I would stop right about there. When you get to those 6 or 7 hearts level, you're probably don't need to go any further. And here's why. Because there is another skill that allows you to carry more, I'm just going to call them life potions, because that's what they are. In essence, they work like fairies in Legend of Zelda. When your health is depleted, they will regenerate you and refill that entire bar. So you're able to upgrade that skill to where you can carry 5 of these refill containers. So the cost to skill point ratio for the amount of life you get is far less expensive there than it is to buy the hearts. So if life is where you're going, go there after you get the first few cheap hearts, because every one of those you get is worth 7 hearts, as opposed to every 5 skill points you acquire unlocking 1 extra heart, which doesn't really go all that far. So get those, max that out first. Then there are some skills related to the individual Bananzas that are really worth investing. And that is, I would say, the first one, we'll just call it a gorilla. So the bigger gorilla of Donkey Kong. There is some there that you want to invest in. Some things that let you hit a little harder, worth getting. Then there's another one towards the end. You get several of these. There's one that really has a great power with the way you can destroy stuff and turn it into useful objects. That one is worth investing in to because that effect you can make it last longer and produce more objects. So putting in some investment there is wise as well. Um, Lastly, the last one I would probably say is a good one to invest at least the minimum in is the Bonanza that gives you the ability to kind of float or fly. You'll see what I mean when you get there. Extending that a little bit, you don't need to go too far, is really going to help you in the later stages, reaching some of those places that allows you to bypass some of the mechanics. So it's a good way to just jump through part of the level and get a little bit of advantage. So that's the skill tree tips. The next and probably the most important tip I will say is the clothes. You want to invest in the clothes, and the best clothes are actually very early in the game, in my opinion. So one of the more powerful things is the Donkey Kong tie. It's a yellow tie offered very early. I think it's in the second stage, maybe the third, but it's very early in the game. And what it does in the initial level is adds 10% of the time of your Bonanza. You can upgrade this 3 times, get it to level 3, and I believe it adds 80% of the time to the Bonanza. Absolutely important. Get that, max it out. Parallel to that is the outfits for Pauline. In the same level as the yellow ties, you will find Pauline's outfits, of which there are 3. They all do the same thing at each level. Gives the same benefit. So you can stack those. Get Pauline's outfit, maximize that. You do that with gold. You just keep buying it over and over, and it goes up to the level 3. And again, you now have a stacked 80 and 80 plus your skill tree. Now your Bonanza time frame is virtually limitless. And that opens up your ability to do so much more. And it becomes super critical towards the end of the game. Your ability to switch seamlessly through all the different Bonanzas really will pay dividends. So those are my big tips. The last one would be stockpile gold. If you've got the opportunity and it doesn't feel like it early on, you start getting large amounts of gold and you're like, what am I going to do with all this? There's not enough to spend it on. Gold isn't doing a whole lot for you, but stockpile it. Every chance you get, collect as much gold as possible. You won't be sorry when you get into the end game. You need that gold. I'm not going to spoil why you need it. You just need a lot of it. So stockpile it. The other thing I would say is the homes. Don't sleep on the homes. The little crystal houses, you get an opportunity, you pay a little gold, it opens up a little bed where you can sleep. It also, as you increase the number of houses you purchase, you get an attendant who acts as a vendor where you can restock your potions and your pop, the bazooka pop or whatever it's called. So it's great to have that ability. So anytime you see a house, buy it. And you'll find the more you buy in each level, it not just heals you, it starts stacking bonus hearts on top of your base life. I think the max I've seen is 4 hearts throughout the game, unlocking 7 houses. So I don't know if every level has 7 houses or how many total they have, but anytime you find one on the way, it's worth spending the gold to unlock it. So those are my tips. I want to know what you guys think. Have you been playing this game? Do you have any tips? This is an amazing game. It's worth the $70. Pick it up in physical. If you're into the toys, it's a great amiibo. I don't know if you need to open it or not. It does give you some exclusive items in the game that you can only get with the amiibo. So that's all I got. I want to thank you all for joining us. Go jump into that game. And until next time, have fun.